Hi, Everygirls. Let's talk about something that hits especially hard when the group chat fills up with wedding invites and your feed just looks like an endless scroll of engagement announcements. Today, we're talking about comparison and comparing your timeline with other people's. More specifically, this is kind of like what to do when everyone around you seems to be getting married or hitting milestones, and you're just trying to remember if you took your vitamins this morning. This episode is for the 26-year-old listener who wrote in asking for advice because she feels behind since everyone around her is getting married and she's not currently in a relationship. I think in one way or another, we all have that feeling like time is running out or we missed a deadline for our own life purely based on just where we see other people are. So, we're going to break this down, not just how not to get caught up if all your friends are getting married before you, but to stop comparing your timeline to everyone else's. So, first of all, I really think we need to normalize this feeling. Our 20s and 30s are a hot freaking mess for a reason because everyone around us is in such different life stages, and that's jarring. Up until age 20, most of us were in the same stage as our peers. We were learning how to read, and then you were trying out for the soccer team, and then you were playing cello and learning about American history, all while everyone else around you was just trying to do okay in school and be cool to their friends and play whatever instrument or sport or be in whatever club. And then you hit your 20s. And all of a sudden, even your closest friends have such a different life than you. Your best friend is pregnant, another friend is starting her own company, your college roommate's divorced, your coworker is buying a house, and you're just over here trying to have the patience to finish Downtown Abbey. So, of course, we begin to look around at all of these life paths that look so different from ours and think, does that mean that something's wrong with mine? Life is not linear, and our 20s and 30s is where that becomes the most obvious. So, this decade is truly designed for chaos because all of our lives are supposed to look different. They are supposed to look unique to us, but no one is reminding us of that. Instead, we are just flooded with the highlight reel on Instagram and TikTok that forces us to question, am I the one doing life wrong and everyone else is doing it right? I don't know about you guys, but I feel like we all had a very similar experience, similar but different experience when we were kids and it came to getting our periods. I have a point here, I swear, so stay with me. I got my period before a lot of my other friends, so I was really embarrassed. But then also, I had friends that were embarrassed because they hadn't gotten their periods yet. Like, remember the Judy Blume book, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret? Such a throwback. When she's like, I'll die if I don't get my period before I turn 16. Isn't that so funny to look back on that time when the timeline of something as biological and individual as getting our periods made us feel a lot of feelings. It was really tied to our perception of self. And don't you just wish we could have just let our bodies exist and know that our periods are going to come whenever it's right for our bodies? It's not that big of a deal if we start menstruating before or after our friends do. I really think we are going to look back on this time just like that. Weddings are the new periods. What I learned back at age 12 is that it is such a silly mistake to expect things to happen for you at the same time or the same order as anyone else. Life does not actually work like a perfect step by step process or this gradual perfect timeline. And we logically know this. Have you seen those memes that are like, well, we think success looks like, and it's like a graph with a perfect line going straight upward. And then it's like, versus what success actually looks like. And it's this huge squiggly line that eventually goes to the top. Like, that's life. I actually have learned that most things in life, if it were a graph, it would be very low to the bottom for the most part and then shoot up to the top near the end, if that makes sense. It's like bamboo. Have you heard this about bamboo? Just a fun fact of the day. For the first 5 years of the bamboo's growth, like since the seed starts, it's all underground. But in those 5 years, it's growing all of its roots. And then suddenly it like shoots up 90 feet in 6 weeks. You are the bamboo. If you feel like nothing's happening for you right now, you might just be growing your roots. Our timelines don't work in perfect increments. Maybe there could be no changes on the surface and then suddenly it's all at once. Or maybe you think you're checking every single box that you're supposed to in life and then you find yourself ended up at the very beginning. My point is that every person's timeline is meant to be very different. And there is quite literally no such thing as being behind when it comes to your own life. Because behind what? Whose timeline are we even following? And why would we follow it? Feeling behind wouldn't exist without templates of what is considered ahead. Do you know where the fear of being behind, specifically when it comes to marriage, comes from? I know it's easy to point to our biological clocks if you want children, and that's a very real pressure. I absolutely feel that. But that's not where this fear comes from. Because think about it, there are so many ways to have children nowadays if you want children. Women are safely having babies later and later in life. We have options. Medicine has evolved. Support systems have evolved. Family structures have evolved. Maybe you start feeling that pressure around certain ages. Like if you turn 30 or 35 or 40, you start feeling like, okay, if I want kids, I really got to get my body checked. I have to make a plan. Okay, sure. But the fear of being behind when people are getting married before you or before you're in a relationship, this deep panic when people are getting married before you, or this feeling of being behind when it comes to marriage. It stems from a time when women's entire worth was determined by whether or not she could secure a husband. Like, think about Bridgerton. If you weren't married by age 21, you were considered ruined goods. Your livelihood, your safety, your social value, it all depended on a husband and your age related timeline. Even the titles that we use in the English language are a really good example of this. Like, there's only one title for men, Mr., because it didn't matter whether they were married or not, they had the same amount of value. But for women, you had to be placed as either Mrs. or Miss in order to distinguish marital status, because whether a woman was single or married determined everything about her worth. It determined how you needed to treat her. That's the legacy we are still trying to shake off. That's the pressure that we have inherited. And even if our rational brains know that we're building careers, we're financially independent, God fucking bless, we are buying homes, we're choosing independence. We are still carrying that echo of societal conditioning. We're still battling that internalized belief that if someone else finds love and we haven't, we have failed. Or that no matter how much life we have yet to live, we are running out of time. That's where that comes from. So I'm here to tell you there is no such thing as being late to your own life. You are evolving at the exact right pace that is required for your optimal happiness. And the most rebellious, radical thing that you can do is to define your worth by how deeply you're living, not how closely your life matches someone else's. In fact, I actually look at it as a really positive sign if my life looks very different than the other people around me. It's an affirmation that I'm living fully authentically based on my own decisions, not what I'm supposed to do. It's a good thing to me. Talking a little bit more about specifically marriage for a sec, I think we have to take marriage and engagements off of a pedestal. I say this as someone who is engaged and planning a wedding, so maybe it sounds hypocritical or like, okay, easy for you to say, but marriage is not the finish line. This is specific to heterosexual people, but I swear women have been so programmed to think that marriage is this prize that they have to get in their life when it actually doesn't serve them all the time. Let me give you some statistics, okay? This isn't to scare you or to throw shade at marriage. Obviously, I am by will marrying a man. This is to remind you that the things that we idolize often come with trade offs or isn't all it's cracked up to be. I'm pulling this from an article in Psychology Today written by psychologist and author Dr. Avram Weiss. There is an abundance of evidence that marriage serves men much more than women in almost every way. Generally speaking, according to the research, married men are better off than single men. They are healthier, wealthier, and happier. Single women, however, are typically, generally speaking, better off than married women. They are, on average, healthier, wealthier, and happier when they're single. According to Dr. Weiss, guess who has the highest rates of suicide? Divorced men and married women. I find this really fascinating, but my point in sharing this is not to scare you out of marriage or to say that marriage is bad. It's just to prompt you to question, why is marriage a goal that you want so bad that you feel negatively when other people get married before you? Deciding to get married for me was not this like, okay, it's the right time. I'm almost 30. I should get engaged. I think this is the best person I could get, or we've been together for a long time. It was not like that. I looked at it like, I am so freaking happy in my life. And I love myself and my alone time so much. The only reason to get married for me was if this person would add so much value to my life. If being with them could beat the joy that I feel on my own. Marriage for the sake of marriage is not appealing to me. Look at the goddamn statistics. I'm getting married because I know this person will make my life better, not marriage. I know this person will make my life happier, not because marriage is a prize or something that we think we're supposed to achieve by a certain age. So if you're struggling with comparison around marriage specifically, I would just challenge why you think marriage is this prize that you have to win or something you need by a certain time in order to have a full life. While I'm thrilled about this part of my life and I'm so excited about legally sharing a name with the person I love most in the world, it doesn't come anywhere near the most important parts about me. It doesn't fix my inner child. It doesn't eliminate my insecurities. It doesn't make me feel whole. My relationship just adds love to a life that I've already been building. Having a fiance and getting married is not completing me. It's just adding a plus one to an already very full life. So that's my thoughts on marriage. Also, one more thing that I think about is like most of us, when we start to like get near our 30s, we're like, oh my God, I'm turning 30. I have to have everything figured out. I might need to fact check this, but I think that Kim Kardashian was marrying Chris Humphries, not even Kanye yet, Chris Humphries at age 30 or 31. She had to divorce Chris Humphries. Well, first of all, get married to Chris Humphries, 72 days later, get divorced from him, start dating Kanye, and then went on to have 4 children. I know things did not end well, so I'm not saying that's the perfect fairy tale ending to be married to Kanye, God forbid. But my point here is that like we have so much more time than we think. I know people also like to say if you're 30 years old, you're in your season 1 of Friends. Like there are so many examples around us of this age of 30, even 35 is really the beginning for most people, not this like we have to have everything figured out by now. When it comes to comparison in general, maybe it's relationships, maybe you're comparing about buying a house that other people in your life have been able to buy a house and you're not there yet. Maybe it's about career and success. I actually feel this. Like I have to remind myself all the time, like, what's an example? Like Alex Cooper is 1 year older than me. And I'm like, well, fuck. She had much different success at age 29. And I have to work to remind myself who said that age is the timeline we're supposed to measure our success against, especially in this very long life that we get. So, whatever comparison you're feeling, remember that you're comparing your behind the scenes to someone else's highlight reel. Someone else's engagement or promotion might be the high point in a chapter that also included debt, doubt, disconnection, anxiety. You've heard me say enough that happiness is not a circumstance. Like it's not something that we get based on what happens to us. Research shows that up to 40% of our happiness is influenced by intentional activity, not circumstance. So even achieving the perfect life milestone doesn't guarantee happiness. So rest assured, you are very likely happier now than someone who has gotten engaged or got the promotion, because happiness is a skill that you have to practice, not a circumstance that comes with checking off milestones. I'm really not against milestones either. I think it's good and healthy to stop and reflect once in a while to kind of take stock of how far you've come, decide and make plans for what you want in your life. But the crucial piece of that is that the distance should not be measured by other people's success. Instead, it's like deciding our own milestones with the only determining factor being our own happiness, what's going to make us happy. I would also look into what is that comparison trying to tell you? Because most of us are not comparing because we actually care about being married as much as we think we do. We're comparing because we really want to feel safe or chosen. Or if you are comparing your career trajectory with your college friends, maybe you really want to feel validated in your career and you want to feel worthy. Maybe you wouldn't actually want all the paperwork and the long hours that it required for that friend to get to where she is. You just want the feelings. You want the validation or worth or whatever the emotions are that are tied to what that milestone might mean to you. So, what if you didn't outsource those feelings to external happenings? Like, what if we didn't look to external milestones or relationships or promotions or things that depended on other people to give us? And instead, you got to give yourself those feelings. What if you created your own safety or defined your own version of success? Whenever you feel triggered by someone else's timeline, I would ask yourself, what does their timeline represent to me? And how can I give myself that feeling in my own way? I like to say that we really misinterpret the emotion jealousy because it's not actually a sign of what we don't have, it's a sign of what we're meant for. So when you're comparing yourself to others and you're saying, "Oh, I'm feeling jealous that this friend got engaged," or "I'm feeling jealous that this person I see on Instagram has this different career." That's a really helpful compass to what you value. You're just misinterpreting it as a negative emotion. So look at what it's trying to tell you. Is that feeling telling you that you really value partnership? Or that you want to be seen or celebrated or prioritized? What exactly about someone else's life do you want when you're comparing? Because that is a sign of what you're meant for. And the last piece of advice I would say is the time that you're in right now, whether it's your single years while your friends are getting married or before your career is taken off, whatever it is, where you are right now is not a waiting room. There will be a time in the future where you look back and, believe it or not, you will miss the phase that you're in right now. You will miss being able to take up the full bed and sleeping in the middle. Maybe you'll miss going out with your friends until 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. Or you'll miss watching whatever show that you want whenever you want to watch it. Or you'll miss just living your life for you without whatever responsibilities milestones come with. The more deeply you enjoy and invest in this season, the less you will feel like it's a gap that needs to be filled. And very ironically, that energy where you're like, "This is my time, I'm loving my life, I'm investing in my energy currently in the phase that I'm in," that's magnetic as fuck. I swear that's the thing that attracts partners and job opportunities and everything that you want to you, so it's ironic, but the goal is to just love your life so deeply now, as it already is, that it doesn't feel like an appetizer. You've already gotten to the main course. So if you're feeling behind in your life in any way, or you feel that comparison, you are not behind. You are just not on someone else's path, and that's something to celebrate, not mourn. If this season of your life looks different than other people around you, it doesn't mean that you're lost. It might mean that you're finally choosing to be authentic to you. And that is what makes a really good life. If this episode spoke to you, I hope you feel a little less alone right now. I feel like the 20s and 30s, I think I need a whole other episode just about your 20s in itself. Like maybe when I turn 30, that'll be the episode in September for my birthday of There's so much about your 20s that make us feel like we are behind, like we are being pushed constantly this narrative that we are behind in our own life or we're not doing our life right. I have a lot more to say. I'll do another episode on it, but I hear you. It can feel really lonely. So I hope that this episode helped you feel a little less alone. I hope you always remember that your life is not late. There's no such thing. It's unfolding exactly the way it's meant to. And it's not only allowed, but it's a good thing for it to look wildly different than anyone else's life. And I would love to keep this conversation going with you and hear your guys' thoughts if you've had similar experiences or similar doubts, thoughts, anything that resonated with you. Share this episode with a friend or your daughter or your sister, anyone who needs it. Post it to your Instagram stories, and then please use the Apple reviews and the comment section on Spotify and YouTube. Let's turn the comment section and the Apple reviews into the group chat that we all desperately need. And if you've been loving the podcast, the absolute best way to support this free thing that I give you as a gift, put my heart and soul into, is to leave a very quick rating or review. It helps so much, and I read every single one like it's a love letter. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you on Tuesday for a very special episode to celebrate our 200th episode. Talk to you then. I hope you enjoyed the episode. I know I sure did. Please do not forget to rate, review, and subscribe. It really makes a huge difference for our show so we can keep growing and bringing the content that you love. If you want more info, you can find us at the Everygirl Podcast on Instagram or theeverygirlpodcast.com. Talk to you next week.